Okay. Welcome back to Ion Radio. I'm John, and this is the Backseat Admiral. Try 2. For those watching in a replay, technical issues, had to restart the computer and everything, was dropping too many packets. So hopefully everyone has found their way over to this new stream. I sent it across on our Discord, and hopefully the sound's coming through. I'm going to treat this as if we're starting from the very beginning. So apologies to everyone that got lost in the last stream. Sometimes, the weather's not very good out, and then I haven't done this for a while, and computers sometimes are finicky. So hopefully this time it goes much better. Ken is in the chat. If you guys have any questions for him, or if you have any questions for me, go ahead and post it. So I'm going to go right back into talking about what I was. So today we're going to be going over 2 episodes. We're going to be going over Season 5, Episodes 5 and 6. This needs to be changed. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be going over episodes 5 and 6. So we have Trench versus Garm as our first matchup, and then Ramadi versus Greed mirror match. So I'm excited to talk about both these fleets. It's been a while since I've been able to do a backseat. Like I was saying in my first stream, life's been crazy busy. Between work, time change, baby, holidays, it looks like I'm dropping packets again. This is frustrating. Hopefully this works. It might not. I might have to pre-record this and then release it to you guys. There's no Windows updates. That's usually what messes me up. Okay, it says we're back in business, so nope, it keeps dropping. So far, so good, Ken? Okay, well, it's telling me that there's no data and it's dropping, so I'm going to just keep going. And if it does drop, just message me then. I'm skipping? Yeah, see. I don't know what it is. Does OBS need to be done? Okay, well, I'm going to end Scream again. And hold on. Am I holding steady? Looks like I'm holding steady. Okay, let's try this again. Let's keep going. So, match 1, Trench, brought to us by Phoenix. And then Garmless, brought to us by IrishMadCat. Both these lists are cool. The way that we decided to do this is I decided I really wanted to fly my newly painted Rebel 1 Providence, and then Ken got stuck with the other fleet. And then we both decided we both would have liked to play either of these fleets, so that's always nice. Let me switch over to it. It's Carrier. And this ship is pretty much good for building super, super janky Rebel fleets. And this is kind of how I would have built it if I were building a fleet like this. It has such unique upgrade slots that it builds very, very weird fleets that normally the Rebels don't have access to any of these upgrades, and then you can just like throw it back all on one ship. So it's Garm, Circle of Doom again, sadly. It says that I'm processing fine, and it says I have excellent condition. So I'm going to just keep going. Let me know if it keeps messing up. So you have Garm, so you can pass yourself tokens. It is a 3 command, so you can get 3 of them. Crystal Agate as the officer, which you don't see very much. And it might be a YouTube thing too. And then you have flight controller, so then you can do all of your nifty shenanigans with the ship. And then move forward and activate your squadrons afterwards. Yeah, it might just be the weather too then. If it's just going back and forth between stuttering and then doom and then just stuttering. So you have Caitlin and Sholin, and the Providence has double Evil Rainbow for its primary dice, so most likely you only need to correct one dice or one color of mischievous red dice. Flak guns allows you to be able to throw your flak farther out, and at the same time, then you have Krista Agate that can refresh your tokens. So on your salvo, you can refresh your tokens, or on your attack, you can refresh your tokens, which makes the ship a little bit more tanky. You have flight controllers, and flight controllers don't have a really good place or a really good home, more specifically in the faction of Rebels. So this kind of gives it a place that it can be used. A lot of ships that can take it only can do like 2 to 3 squadrons, and they're okay-ish at that, or you want the ship to be doing something else. It has expanded hangar bay, which bumps this ship up to 3 squadron value, which makes it actually one of the stronger versions of a Rebel carrier. The only ship in the Rebels that can get higher than that is like the MC-80 with 4 natively. But for the most part, Rebel ships are like either 2-3 squadron max for activation. So this makes it actually a decent Rebel squadron pusher. And then you have engine techs, and engine techs pairs very well with flight coordination team and the fact that this ship is speed 2, so it's pretty slow. The fighter coordination team can trigger twice with engine tech, so you can use flight commander to delay you activating squadrons. You can move. Use flight coordination team to push your squadrons forward. Then you can engine tech, push your fighter score forward. So say if you weren't using these X-Wings, or you could use like a B-Wing, push it 2 and then have it move 2. So in essence, it's moving 4. It's pretty good. So this whole thing pairs well with fighters. And then it's still a tanky ship that wants to get in close. Okay, second ship is a Neb B escort frigate. It has Ahsoka Tano, and she's here to change tokens on the Providence so that you can keep doing engine tech pretty much every single turn. Has Link Turbo Laser Towers as a reroll mechanism for the red dice, and Yavaris because you still want to do squadrons with it, and if a squadron, you can like push squadrons into a position with flight controller on the Providence, and then you can go ahead and activate the squadrons, and then they're treated as not moving. So that works well, and it can push squadrons forward. And then you can do things like, shoot with Luke Skywalker with 2 black dice instead of just 1. Yavaris is kind of like a cheaper version of flight controllers now since the update. The third ship is a GR-75 medium transport with Torin Farr, Bomber Command Center, and Bright Hope. So this ship is giving out the rerolls for a lot of dice. This fleet has primarily all blue anti-squadron, so Torin Farr allows a reroll with that. And then Bomber Command, they're all X-Wings and stuff, so they can reroll their red dice, which are usually pretty needed. Now let's get into the Syndulla in her X-Wing. Basically, it's just all the X-Wing aces, which is kind of cool. Her ability allows let's see if this is updated. No, this is not the updated card here, but the updated card is when a ship with escort is within the bubble of distance 1 of 2 of Hera, then you get to roll a dice on attack and against fighters and ships. So put that with Tauren, that means you get pretty much 2 rerolls, and then put that with Bomber Command, and you also get 2 rerolls, which is a lot of rerolls so that you can hopefully get hits. Luke Skywalker, I already mentioned him, treats the defender as having no shields, so if you link that with Yavaris, that's 2 black dice at the same time, and then they have no shields, and then you get to reroll 2 with Bomber Command and Hera. It's pretty good. And then you have Biggs, and he allows you to share damage between escorts. And then you have Wedge, which is really good at murdering something that's already gone. And to like 7 blue dice, which I think is technically the most amount of blue dice a fighter, or amount of dice a fighter can give. Because right now the Empire can only get up to, I think, 6 with Hal Runner Flight Controller shenanigans. I don't know if there's a way how to get higher than that, but still, technically this is the way to get the highest. The fleet finishes off with 4 generic X-Wings. So this is actually a lot similar to a build that I've been working on in my head. My list, I have B-Wings though. So, yeah, I'm sorry guys. My streaming is showing green, and YouTube is showing that I'm going back and forth with connection, and I don't know why. And it might just be the weather, but I've restarted and I have my computer all updated. All my software is updated. I tried to do that before I started the stream, and it just doesn't want to cooperate with this. Super, super annoying. So I might just finish up 1 and then see where we're going. So the second fleet is the Trench list, and the Trench list, Trench is on a Recusant class. It has Assault Proton Torpedoes, Swivel Mount Batteries, and Patriot Fist. This is one of my favorite ways to run Patriot Fist. And it allows you to throw black dice at longer ranges. And when you pair that with Trench, you can then get our dice added and a reroll with Trench's ability if you do it on Confire. So you can get 4 red dice, plus Patriot Fist, 2 blue dice, plus Swivel Mount, bring in a black dice, plus Confire, bring in a black dice, plus a reroll to possibly trigger Assault Proton Torpedoes at long range. It's pretty good. And then Teeks, like, you can just keep navving the entire time with this ship. And then Teeks says, give me a Confire token, so you can get into the right position. And then you always have that Confire token with Admiral Trench to trigger Admiral Trench's ability. I like it. And then you have these 2 small Gazantes, and they both have flight controllers. So with them, you can take a squadron token, or a squadron dial, turn it into a token with Trench, then activate 3 squadrons with flight controllers. And a lot of times that's like a pretty good alpha strike for vultures or tri-fighters. Because with their AI, you get an extra dice, and then with flight controllers, you get an extra dice. And even things like Hyena Bombers being activated by this, they go up to 3 blue dice, which is... that's funny. Someone just commented, Ditrode, YouTube has used boarding troopers on your connection. Yeah, seriously. YouTube's angry that I haven't done this more recently, so it's taking it out on me. I need to just be more consistent with doing Backseat again, and then YouTube will start behaving better. So I like these Gazantes. I also, if Teeks wasn't on the Recusant, it's fun to have Teeks on a Gazante. It makes it more expensive, but navving or confiring, and then getting the token of squadrons with that to power up the Trench squadron activations. So you can play around with it. I like the Separatists. They have a lot of cool tricks. Last thing is a hard sell. transport with Rune Hakao and Bomber Command Center, and Rune will allow you to steal tokens from other ships if you want to. I like him. A lot of times I see him more useful with things like providences that are powering a fleet action, like Intensify Firepower or something like that. And then we get into the squadron build, and it's a unique set of squadrons, and it's diverse. So we have General Grievous in his Starfighter, which we haven't really seen that much on the channel. I think the last time we might have used him twice, maybe like when the Clone Wars, and another time I used him. Which goes for these next two guys too. We don't see them very often either. DFS 311. And if this attack is obstructed, you may force the attacker to reroll 1 dice. Its ability is kind of meh, but it has Swarm, it has Intel, it allows your fighters to move around a little bit less harassed. DBS 404, he's the one that you can add an extra dice into your attack if you're touching them, if you take a damage. I don't think we've yet to see that actually take place on the channel. That's something Ken and I will have to build specific lists to try to do. The rest of the fleet is 4 Hyena bombers and 3 droid tri-fighters. So those 3 droid tri-fighters is in essence 1 activation of a Gazanti with Trench. So all of them launch forward. So red, blue, blue, plus blue because of flight controllers, plus blue because of, that's the color you would add in with AI. So you're throwing then 5 dice with them. And they're like 11 points, super cheap. Got counter 2 to try to add some more damage in. And then they're black dice, anti-ship if you don't deal with them. If they don't have fighters, then you just activate all your hyenas. And there's 4 of them, and the hyenas are going to be 2 black dice activated against ship, which can add up pretty quick. And then you have all these aces that can just be annoying to deal with. This is a very decent squad ball for the CIS, which I feel like the CIS might be the weakest squadron force in the game. They don't have really good ways to activate them, and then they also don't necessarily have the utility that other squadrons have. Like, you have all of the Empire helping each other out or doing something specific and being super offensive. You have the Rebels, which, like you see me flying, it's a Biggs ball. Like, I get to stay alive for forever. The Gar have, like, Ahsoka, Anakin triggering off each other, and then all of their other stuff can be decent. The CIS probably has the weakest squadron, but this uses a wide variety of them to make it pretty strong. Okay, so let's dive into the game. If you guys have any comments or questions, hit me up in the chat. I'll try to answer them. So this game, I believe I had the bid, and I selected to go second. Ken chose Fighter Ambush. So all my fighters had to go down last. And as you can see, Ken has his Gazantis, his Recusant to the side to sweep in, hard sell to kind of like dash across. I have my Providence back here in the corner, transport kind of in the middle because it kind of wants to be in the middle because of Torrin Far and Bomber Command. It kind of wants to be right there in the action. Yavaris off to the side, but can still get into the action because I need to be in activation range for my fighters. And then the fighters just get to start forward a little bit farther, so they're closer to the action, but now my ships need to catch up. And then the all-important station, which is if you're playing a Biggs ball, you want to actually fight the entire battle near the station because then you can last longer. Biggs balls, they a lot of times, they're survive, and then it all collapses all at once. And with the station around, even if you can get just like 1 or 2 heals, it increases the chances that your Biggs ball will survive longer. And in this case, Biggs can pass damage to every single fighter in this except for Hera. Hera's the only one without escort. So Hera just kind of stays safe in the back, passing out rerolls, while the Biggs ball just absorbs all the damage. And if you can make them attack your fighters that have defense tokens, like Wedge, Biggs himself, or Luke, then you can like brace the damage and then pass the damage, and it's really good for damage mitigation. And if you're no longer locked down because of flight control coordination team, you can then shuffle fighters on top of the station to heal. And I can do then this theoretically 6 shuffles per turn with the Providence if I'm using engine tech, which is crazy because that's theoretically then 6 more health that I can pass between X-Wings each turn to keep them alive while still absorbing damage. So you could attack me with 6 fighters. Let's say if you attack an ace and I brace it, you can attack me 6 times. I can reduce the damage, pass it around, and you might kill 1 fighter and the rest take a bunch of damage, and then they're all back to full health before I have to move forward and engage. So my whole game plan is to try to keep back and use the station for advantage for like the first like turn or two, and then I can send my squadrons at that point, hopefully have gained superiority to wipe out Ken's fighters and then move against the ship. And it's like fighter attack, so I can hopefully score some tokens. I don't know, I don't think a single token was scored this game. The Providence actually did some more killing things. Thank you. Someone said he liked the Providence paint job. I think it was a really nice look. I haven't decided yet. I've seen some 3D printed models of like the Providence, the Rebel, because technically the Rebel one has these like weird wings that were added to the Providence. I haven't decided if I want to try to get that or not yet. I'm pretty happy with the way this one looks, so maybe down the road. Okay, turn 2. Everything moves forward. We have this, I dare you to attack me, and I'm just out of his range standoff going here. His Ken Siracucent is coming around, and I'm like looking at my Ned B, and I'm like, Ned B's explode so easy, and this is gonna die so fast against a Patriot's Fist if it can hit it in the side. So I'm gonna try to maneuver it so then it can't do that and land on the station, so it's obstructed, which I do, but I still give Ken a decent side shot into it. Providence is going to do some crazy things with the station and squadrons when this squadron battle comes, because I can just kind of sit back here and wait for Ken to come to me, because if he doesn't engage my fighters and this Patriot Fist comes around, then I can just send all my stuff over against the Patriot's Fist and kill it. So he kind of has to engage and try to lock me down here while my Providence can swing through. And that's what we see. So this ship and this ship are going to be locked in an epic duel. His Gazantes are doing quirky maneuvers to stay in activation range. He's moved his squadrons in. Let's see if I can zoom this in a little bit. Yeah, here it is. I've managed to kill some of his squadrons out. His hyenas have snuck off to the side to start bombing my Providence, and it's brutal because they score a lot of hits. I know I've talked about this before, but this fleet specifically, you can lean into this, and I think Ken and I had talked about it. When you have like a set of fighters, like most of the time for the Empire, you have like, these are my anti-squadron fighters, that's it, that's all I brought, and then I have like, steel. But a lot of times when you have multiple role fighters, CIS, GAR, or Rebels, you can split them into 2 different packs, right? So you have your anti-squadron over here, and you have your bombers over here. And that forces the other player to make a decision about what am I going to lock down. do I lock down their bombers and then allow their anti-squadron to get an alpha in on me? Or do I lock down their anti-squadron in hope that their bombers don't get a rush on me? And that's kind of what anti-squadron into my squadrons to lock them down. And then his bombers moved around the side because I couldn't get free to lock them down. And they have free reign to bomb against my Providence until I get my squadrons free and get them over there. And that's what we see. As you can see here, this is where the Neb B landed. And it is barely alive because of dice luck on my part. And then it's going to get totally eaten by the Patriot's Fist here. I have pretty much killed off all of Ken's fighters. I think he has just a couple hyenas left, and I have my X-Wings. I popped the hard cell as it came in, and then this Gazanti's basically just flying right in front of my ships. And this Gazanti's already like, peace, I'm out of here. So that's kind of where we ended up ending it. Ken ended up killing the Neb B. I ended up killing the Gazanti. And I ended up killing off all of his fighters. And then we just flew past each other. Let me pull up the score. So in score, Ken killed an X-Wing and the Neb B. And then I killed a hard cell, Gazanti, and all the squadrons. Oh, I got 1 token worth of victory points for 15 points. So 241 versus 84 for an 8-3 with an MOV of 156. So both these fleets, squadron powerhouses, but it's really, really hard to crack into a big spell. Especially when the big spell is like super janky with a Providence, just bouncing things on stations the entire time. If we go to what the health of my fighters were at the end, you can see like it's just a trickle down right here of more injured X-Wings and then only 1 dead X-Wing because I was able to heal them up consistently. Ken did quite a number on my Providence. He eliminated complete side shields, most of the front shields, and got hull damage in. Which is pretty good. Actually, we should probably go check. I don't remember what did the hull damage, because if it was a fighter, technically Ken should have had a victory point. Maybe it was his hard cell. It's been so long since we recorded this. I'm just going to assume we scored it right, because we're usually pretty good at that, and this probably was the hard cell shooting through, scoring that hit, or me ramming. It might have been a ram. Maybe it was a ram. Yeah, so that was the game. It was fun. I would play either of these lists. I'm personally, in the opinion, after playing a bit with the Gazantis for the CAS, is that the CAS actually only want 1 Gazanti, and it's just to be cheap activation, or something like this, which is here's a flight controller, or like an ion upgrade if you're doing it with like Kraken or something like that. I think pushing it to 2 flotillas is typically worse than 1. But I haven't played it enough to necessarily say that as a fact. That's the way I lean. For the Rebel list, I'd probably leave it the same. I don't necessarily know if GARM is the best use for the Providence. It worked really well. I just personally prefer using Agate Commander on it. It's cheaper. And then I can just use a different officer in that slot. But this is, again, I've played it once, and it wasn't really attacked by ships, so I never really needed to get Agate officer involved, but just usually having the additional defense token with Agate Commander is more beneficial. You're probably going to see me run a version of this in a way, but with B-Wings, mainly because I think B-Wings with the double movement is where this thing would get really, really sick. But that's probably not till season 6, maybe season 7 at this point that we get around to filming with that. Let's see. I think I have. This is just a sneak preview for you guys, if you guys remember it in time coming. Who do I have filing it? Yeah, lots of B-Wings. But being able to push them forward and being able to do the extra movement is just really, really good. I think it's my list is a Providence. I closed that app already. It's a Providence, it's a Nub B, and it's a GR75. It's like IrishMadCat was reading my mind when he built this list, which is funny. So, okay, so let's check out comments, see how they're going. Hopefully the stream is running fine for you guys. YouTube seems to be more of the problem because my streaming program is solid green with packets right now. So let's check it out. Ken answered you on where we got the 3D obstacles. They are combat zone scenery, and then Ken painted them up to look like what you see. I think he actually used primarily just contrast paints, and it worked really, really well. How do you beat a Biggs ball? You kill Biggs. This is actually a light Biggs ball, believe it or not, which is crazy. Because normally you would have Jan in there, which you attack a generic, Jan braces it, then you pass it, and it's just like free extra tokens. You have to kill Biggs off. The Empire can do it really, really well, and a Biggs ball player should be able to actively keep you from wanting to or being able to target Biggs himself, but with it being like that distance 1, you might be able to find an opening with everything being escort. You need to get in there and you need to kill Biggs off because then he doesn't matter. So, for example, let's say you attack Biggs with a TIE Interceptor boosted by Hull Runner and Flight Controllers. That's 6 dice. Let's say you do 4 damage and you have an accuracy. So that first attack, Biggs braces to 2, shoves 1 off, takes 1. You do it again. At this point, now you can accuracy the good brace. Same thing. So now he's 2 health down, has 1 brace. That third attack, he can't brace, he's dead. And at that point, you just shred the rest of the X-Wings. You basically have to have a plan, and also flak Biggs hates flak. While he can move it around, everything in the Biggs ball is taking damage. So if you go in there and you specifically target Biggs as the primary target and eliminate him, then you don't have to do it. Biggs can only transfer 1 damage per attack somewhere else. So theoretically, if you're able to get 2 damage to stick, so if you have 3 hits per attack, Biggs can only take 5 attacks, and then the entire Biggs ball goes down. Because most of the time, that's the defense strategy for the player, is the Biggs ball. So if you're able to just knock Biggs out. And I know that sounds simple, but just knock Biggs out and he's dead. We need a Porkins and rapid reinforcements too. That would be funny. He just explodes when he dies and a ship around him takes damage as he crashes. My guess is if they do a rapid reinforcements 2, more than likely we will see squadrons from Squadron Pack 2 get new versions of it. That's just my opinion, but your guess is as good as mine. Honestly, I just really want new squadrons for GAR and new squadrons specifically for CIS because everyone else got a new squadron except CIS. So it would be nice if CIS had a new squadron, let's say a Fire Spray Jango Fett. That would be pretty sick. Okay. Technically, Flight Controller Grievous Squadron can do enough damage to one-shot a non-unique X-Wing, but I can see why it didn't happen. Also, the Relay 2 is nice. Yes, I would agree with you. His Relay 2 is something that is very much so underutilized, but with the Gazantes, you can just transfer through with him. It's just so hard to keep a squadron that's good like that alive inside of a fleet that doesn't synergize with other squadrons. Like, we're talking about a Biggs Ball, how escort can help it. Like, they don't have any access to escort. If they want Grievous to die, Grievous is dead because they just attack him straight out, and there's nothing the droid player can do to counter that unless they just kill it. Or sorry, unless they can Alpha Strike first and kill all the other squadrons. So that's one of the problems with CIS as a faction. I've been struggling to kill Patriot Fist in a similar build lately. Any advice? Is the similar build the Biggs Ball list, or are you just talking you're playing against a player that's playing a similar build of Patriot's Fist with an undisclosed list of your own? If you could answer me, and then I'll get back to you on that. Scott, good morning all. Looks like I'm late to the party. Hope all is good. All is good. Things are busy, Scott. Welcome to the party. I'm just trying to catch up with Backseat. So today my goal is to try to cover 2 episodes. So then maybe next week we cover 2 episodes. Then we're kind of up to date on Backseats. I talked about at the beginning of one of the live streams. We've had some trouble. Life's just been really, really busy. My kid now is very, very happy to be crawling around and then climbing on everything. So he can't walk yet, but he enjoys pulling himself up and then toppling. So he takes 100% of your attention 100% of the day, just because he's an explorer and stubborn. So, okay. Good morning, Dubluck. You're also late, but it's good to have both of you here. Scott, I have been away from Ion for a couple of weeks. Perfect. I haven't done Backseat in a couple of weeks, so maybe these are episodes that you have already seen. I'm playing a similar build of Patriot's Fist. So you're playing Patriot's Fist against Patriot's Fist then. Really, then it comes down to what your other ships are, /squadron, /activation, to who can get in first. At this point, let's say it would be more beneficial for you to be first and then get a long-range shot in and then immediately close in on the other Patriot Fist to deny them Patriot Fisting extra dice, and then try to double arc them so that between your 2 ships, you have the double arc so that they don't, and then you can outkill them faster. That's really my suggestion. But I don't know if Ken and I have done really a mere CIS fleet. That might be something we need to look into in the future now that I'm thinking about it. Usually we limit ourselves to a couple CIS, but CIS has actually been doing quite well recently in major tournaments and things like that. So that's something that we should start talking about to help you guys out. Question, will there be an Ion presence at LVO 2023? For me, I'm pretty sure that's a no. I believe that that's one of my work weekends, and I'm saving all my time off and work trades and things like that for Adepticon, which is also one of my work weekends, which is frustrating. So I'm going to need to get that weekend off, and traveling to Las Vegas with a little kid is a challenge. I'm already for sure leaving my wife with him for like 4-ish days for Adepticon, leaving another 4 or 5 days. It's just a bit much of an ask right now. So for sure I won't be at LVO. Ken might, but might not. I don't think Ken has said he would or not. What's interesting is I believe that's going to be the last main event qualifier before the last qualifier for Adepticon /Worlds. Okay, so let's click over to the next fleet. Let me exit out of all these. Okay, so match 2 we're going over. It is going to be episode 6, Ramadi versus Screed. And Screed is brought to us by Mars from Fly Casually way down under in Australia. And the Ramadi fleet is brought to you by In Rob We Trust, which is the provider of excellent mats from the Imperial Ship Shop. So check that out. Check both of them out. So we actually made a mistake here. I got super excited. Usually I pull about 6 to 8 fleets at a time for filming purposes, just to have them available. And when I was making the list, I got super excited because I'm like, this is basically a direct mirror of each other. And they're actually not. One of the fleets uses steel instead of Vader because, Vader's clearly in the fleet. But that's not how we played it. I pulled Vader out and everything like that. It still would have worked out the same way because then Vader would theoretically have been dropped from that fleet's Gazanti, which is fine. And then Vader would have gone in for steel, and Ken ended up using Vader with more, what's the term? He got more utility out of Vader anyway because of rogueness. And then it wouldn't have changed the bid. That player still would have won bid by 1 point, which is just all ends up being the same then. So it technically isn't as mirror as we presented it, but it still was quite a mirror. So let's dive into the lists. Where is my image? There it is. Okay, so we're going to be going over the Screed list that I played first, and I didn't use Screed during the game, which is frustrating because he would have really helped me out in a couple of instances. So Screed is sitting on an interdictor suppressor refit with Captain Brunson, auxiliary shield team, disposable capacitor, grav shift reroute. This is the one that allows you to move the obstacles around. It's targeting scrambler, which allows you to protect your fellow ships. Heavy ion emplacement, which works really well with Screed because he just automatically gets to set a dice. So disposable capacitors means that you can chuck that at long range. You get your whole arsenal of dice. Screed says you can discard the red blank and then change one of your blue dice to a crit to trigger heavy ion emplacements at long range. And then you have interdictor, so you can re-ready one of those cards. So you have choices here. You can re-ready Brunson if your ship's the one being targeted, or you can do targeting scramblers if you're closer and you're trying to use it on other ships. Cool. All of those are good. I like it. Then you have the Honor class testbed with Intel Officer, Gunnery Chief Valrillian. I'm not a huge fan of her, but I got a lot of utility out of her this game. Veteran gunners and orbital bombardment particle cannons. So I'm playing Mars Fleet, and in an interview that he did with Ken way back, and that was probably about 6 months ago now, they talked about this version of his fleet, and he prefers to play it kind of second player and feels that he doesn't need Cataclysm because just the way he plays it. And I agree. It worked pretty well without it. Then you have a Gazanti with CommsNet, and he's here to pass tokens. Then you have a Gazanti with boosted comms, which is supposed to be able to activate your fighters. Unless something terrible happens, like it gets one shot across the board on turn 1. Which may have happened in this game. For fighters, we have Darth Vader, Colonel Jendon, Tel Tariv, and Valen Rudor. This is kind of an expensive, I don't want you to kill my ships, but if you don't have squadrons, I'm going to mess you up list. So Vader is very good at swooping in and killing an ace, or swooping in and killing ships. He's kind of squishy all by himself. Colonel Jendon allows him to do his thing twice. Tel is probably the best escort in the game with a scatter. And then Valen's there. around any of them, you can't attack them, and they're all high hull. So, like, if you've killed Tell off, you still can't target Valen if Jendon's near you. And so that's a really good way to keep him alive. And then it's just 3 black dice, which is free damage or forcing a scatter roll or scatter spend. Decent fighters. That's the list. Now we go over to the mirror list, which has slight variations to it. Where is my slide? These are old slides. Okay, give me one sec. Let me see if I have an updated slide of these. Episode 6. Okay, here we go. So we have an interdictor suppression refit with General Ramadi, Minister Tua, which allows you to take a defensive retros fit thing, which in this case is reactive gunnery, proximity mines, grab shift reroute. That's the one that moves obstacles. G7X grapple projectors, which is the speed 0 bubble. And then point defense ion cannons so that fighters are super nerfed against you. I like this thing. Ramadi on an interdictor is kind of fun because it's just such a tank and it can move slowly and you can't get obstructed. And if it does get obstructed, then you're able to check extra dice, and bringing its dice complement up to 5 dice, 2 reds, and 3 blues is pretty good. Reactive gunnery. Also, like at medium range, you're throwing 3 dice back at them for one of your contains that a lot of times you're not going to be using. It's pretty good. So you have proximity mines and then reactive gunnery on it compared to the other one, which is more of an offensive build. This is more of a defensive build and can have some more board control with speed 0 start and then the prox mines. Then you have the Onager, which is practically the same Onager with a slight variation. So it also is an Onager test bed with Intel Officer, Gunnery Chief Virillion, Veteran Gunners, and the Orbital Bombardment Particle Cannons. This one is different, though, by having Cataclysm, so you can try to get that first round shot off, and then Engine Techs, so then you can speed away. Then you have a Gazanti-class cruiser with Darth Vader, Comsnet, and Proximity Mines. So just imagine in our game that Darth Vader's not there. Then you have Gazanti-class cruiser with Hondo, Comsnet, and Proximity Mine. And Hondo's allows you to power up the Cataclysm for turn 1, especially if you can get someone silly like me to start in a speed 0 zone and put myself in range. Then you can just kill off like a flotilla or something else in the background. For fighters, so this is technically what the build should be, but imagine Steel is not there and you have Vader. So same 4 fighters, does the same things. So it's pretty much a mirror match. Ken had the ability to select first or second. He decided to go first, making me go second, and he chose, out of my things, Volatile Deposits, which Volatile Deposits is actually a really good objective for both of our lists, but not necessarily a good objective against each other, like as the second player. This becomes like a real liability when there's a speed 0 bubble and there's the chance that the obstacles can be moved all around and things like that. And it hurt. I wasn't able to grab the dust field again to move it in front of me. So like I started the game off with a gamble of where we had our tokens, I would be able to move my asteroids back where I wanted and then also block it with the dust field. But instead of that, I was in a speed 0 bubble with an Onager staring straight at me. Bad times. So Ken's idea was to use his Onager to kill my Gazanti and then kill off my onager. My idea is my onager and interdictor are going to kill off his flagship and kill off Rom, and then hopefully I can get enough victory tokens with the objective that I can maybe kill his onager off, and maybe take some of his flottillas out. That was the plan. And here's the minefield. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it a little bit better. I set up with the mines in double arcs of almost all of my stuff, so then hopefully starting at speed 0, I could kill them off without actually moving into them, so that that was negated. Another option that you can always do with this, when you have the ability to move them, is you can put them in obstacles, so then it's really, really difficult to hit with flak. And then especially like with these, like just drop one in the middle of this. So if you come in one of this, then you're automatically going to get hit by them, which is a mean trick, and you should try it sometime. Okay, board looks different. I'm missing ships on the first shot. Ken just one-shotted this thing right off, which just so happened to be my boosted comms one, so now I can't command my squadrons. They're outside of range, and here's my comms net, which is pretty much outside of range. So I'm going to be targeting his interdictor. Now his onager with a perfectly placed obstacle is going to be targeting my onager. This is going to go super poorly for my guy. And then my interdictor is going to swing through, try to control this asteroid, kill off some stuff. Fighters jump on fighters. There's a brawl that's going on. We're zapping each other. I had one of my best shots I've ever had with my onager against his interdictor. I did like a ton of damage. And Brilliant, I had set to an accuracy. I like setting Brilliant to an accuracy on the first attack because that's honestly what onagers, like, you're usually re-rolling to try to get. And so you just have like a decent roll, and then you just throw out that accuracy. And so I have like eliminated almost all of Ken's shields, and he's taken hull damage. And then I'm primed to hit him with both things the next turn. And my onager is hurting, but I should be able to survive one more turn of getting hit, maybe two. And then because this Gazanti rammed the interdictor, and then I was able to just splash it with damage. If I'm able to get my red crit on this interdictor and kill it, then this ship will also die at the same time. That was kind of my plan. And it worked. This is where, especially versus editing, it's always funny when you play a game and you don't realize you've missed things. And then you get to a point that you realize, big mistakes were made during this game. I had like an excellent roll, but I didn't have a red crit. And I'm like, what could I possibly do with these? I have like a couple blanks. I need this red crit to trigger. If only there was like a commander ability that I could trigger that would have done that. I had screwed. I could have easily just thrown out one of my blanks, put in the red accuracy, done what I wanted to kill the Gazanti, and there was more than enough damage to finish off the interdictor. Instead, I re-rolled the entire thing. And again, if I would have used greed on the re-roll, I could have done the exact same thing again, killed both of them. But I totally forgot about it, so instead I let the interdictor live on 1 health, which then took both of my attacks from my interdictor to kill. I did kill it, and Ken has almost killed my onager. And he gets to activate first, so I'm going to have to eat like an onager with almost no defense tokens. His intel officer is just brutal. And then our fighter battles keeps going. At this point, like, the interdictor is going to curve and try to kill the onager, and the interdictor, as long as I get a crit, which screed, I'll be able to get a crit, should be able to kill off this Gazanti at speed 0. Otherwise, Ken's allowing me to activate my onager first, which then I could do extra damage and escape him. So it was like this. We were all forced into certain activations in activation order. There is one mine here, which has been the joke for Ken and I during this whole match of who's this mine going to kill? Because I am just outside of range 1, and Ken's trajectory for escape kind of takes him through my onager, which places him, like, does he get hit by his own mine? and then this ship's coming around. Does it get hit by the mine and die? Like, this mine, we joked around off camera from the beginning of the game was going to decide the game, and it ends up deciding the game because Ken finishes off my onager, but now he's inside of all my fighters, a Wargazanti double arcing him, my interdictor coming around. It's almost dead. He's down to 7 hull at this point. And then the game's over. So the onager ends up moving here, triggering it, and then trying to escape with engine techs. So the interdictor is completely out of range, but Vader, being amazing at what he does, is able to hunt him down and just kill him. So yeah, that was the game. It was a lot of fun. I personally, this doesn't surprise anyone, I'm personally not a huge fan of onagers, and especially with interdictor shenanigans, it's kind of cheap when you can just like one-shot ships and do so much damage, especially with Intel Officer. I don't know why more people don't run Intel Officer on onagers, especially like you can just like, you're only getting one shot. You might as well use a 7-point card to force something to discard if you don't get accuracies. So it's pretty good. This was fun though, because we're basically the same fleet with just some variations, and how much it kind of shows how much a variation, like just a small variation, can change a game significantly. Like Ken having Cataclysm versus me not having Cataclysm, and him able to getting that first round shot off. Me having HIEs versus him not having HIEs, significant. Him having mines, it forced me to deploy a certain way and play a certain way, and me not having mines doesn't do that. Him having the bid was more significant than anything, because we both wanted to be able to move obstacles, but the way that works is first player moves obstacles first, second player moves obstacles second. So there's a lot of shenanigan planning with these fleets, and just like that one little subtle difference between a fleet over the course of the game can really, really change how those fleets operate. So I think that's about it that I want to say about them. Thanks to all of our people that submitted lists for these games. Ken and I enjoyed both of them. So if you guys have any thoughts or comments, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. YouTube's been difficult today, so hopefully this turns out fine and you guys have been able to understand and follow what I'm talking about. Let's see. Coming up this week, Ken and I have something special coming out on Tuesday. No clue what that's going to be. Might be a Summa match, might not. Our first... Actually, I can talk about that. So we released a Summa All Things match almost 2 weeks ago, and it has a giveaway in it. And you have, I think, what day is today? Today's Sunday. So you have roughly 2 days still to enter that by using hashtag Summa in the comments to be entered. And we're giving away a set of the tokens so that you at home can then play the Sum of All Things with that. But you have to go to that video and put a comment on it with hashtag Summa. And then Ken and I are going to draw it as of 8 o'clock Central Time Tuesday. We're going to take all those entries, draw a random winner, reach out to them, and send them the obstacle packet, if you would, and rules, so that we can, you guys can have that. And then we have episode, I think, 8 coming out this week on Friday. Let me see if I have a spoiler for that I could post up for you guys. This is going to be episode 8. It's going to be an Agate fleet versus a Grievous fleet. So that's going to be exciting. Another, I believe, Patriot Fist coming in at you. So that's the sneak peek for this week. I'm hoping to be able to probably next week do a double header like this again for episode 7 and then episode 8 to catch up with Backseat. I've really been missing being able to do it. It's just life's been so busy, and I want to be up to date with it. And then the rest of season 5 will end before the end of the year. Ken and I plan on taking the last 2 weeks of December off again, like we did last year, mainly just because with Christmas and with New Year's and things like that, YouTube views go way down because everyone's spending time with their family, and you guys should be. And then we're going to be spending time with our family, as we should be. So it's just easier just to take the 2 weeks completely off, and then we'll be restarting in the new year. Okay, so let's see if anyone has any comments. Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans going on between the Onager and the Interdictor for both fleets. Both of the fleets had a lot of shenanigans, and then like shenanigans on shenanigans makes it like Ken and I going through deployment. We had like cards laid out, and before we actually did deployment, because we recorded, obviously, we talked about when everything actually goes out as first player versus second player versus like before fleets are deployed versus after fleets are deployed versus after fleets are deployed versus before the first turn, during the first turn. There was a lot of stuff that we had to manage for this game. I did put a raid token on YouTube for you. Oh no, that's why I needed to discard my command dial. Then YouTube would have worked fine. Yeah, we've released a lot of battle reports. So, like 10 episodes per season, and we're on season 5. So that means since we've switched over to the seasons, by the end of this year, that's 50 episodes of seasons. And then we have all of our random stuff. I think we've now done 3 campaigns. And before we switched to seasons, I think we were up to like episode like 44. And then I'm like, just us infinitely going up on episode numbers is going to be too difficult. Let's switch over to a season so we can organize things a little bit better. So, I mean, I've really enjoyed playing other people's fleets for season 5. But at the same time, I have so many ideas that I want to get out there. From my own builds, and it's one of those things like there's never enough time to actually play all the list ideas that I have, especially like what I was talking about with the mirror match of Screed and Ramadi, is that a slight variation can make a huge difference across the games. And when you have like an idea or multiple ideas for specifically an admiral or a commander, and then you have multiple variations inside those variations, I really wish I could do like a game a day, something like that. That would be really the only way for me to get out all of my ideas. And then when I'm done, it's like, poof. Will I just burn myself out, though? That's the question. Okay. Ken says 43 episodes. See, I was right. I was around that 40 mark. And 2 rapid reinforcements. Yep. Well, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to us, Scott. So thank you very much. I think I'm going to call the episode here. We've gone on for roughly an hour, maybe less because of YouTube chopping things up. But I hope to see you guys all again soon, and if you want to talk to me and I'm not doing backseats, you can always just @ me on our Discord, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions for you guys or just chit chat. I've been really in this mood recently because I've had no time to paint. I want to paint some BattleTech again. So if you guys want to talk about painting BattleTech, I'm game for that. Also, the weather went from like really cold to like warm again, and then I'm like, I can use my printer for a while. So if you guys want to talk about BattleTech, let's do that the next couple of days. And I think like motivation wise, like just randomly choosing like a lance or a star of a specific house or clan might be easier for me to try to focus in on painting than what I have been doing, which is, basically trying to get a whole galaxy done at a time. We can get a Ken fleet where he gets any victory fleet to be a great winner of a fleet. I think this is spoilers, but season 6/7, Ken and I will have a victory off. One of us using Gar and one of us using normal. So we're pretty excited to get that one filmed up. I think that one's going to be in the queue in the next 2-3-ish months for us to play. That's a big spoiler. But we're both excited about that because we both actually enjoy victories. Ken more so than me, but I'm actually pretty close behind that. You need to watch me play outside the channel. I win a lot more. That is very true. Ken does win a lot more outside the channel. I think it's one of those things when you mainly play the same person. I always refer to Ken and I have our own meta, which is kind of funny when you just have two people. But Ken and I have played each other so much on the channel now that we know how each other play, and we also know how each other build fleets. So a lot of times, mainly just to be entertaining for you guys, we have to pull ourselves back from our own meta of our fleets when we're designing things. Like, this is what I would design if I were to play this fleet outside of just each other, instead of just trying to do a counter back and forth. The Iron Radio meta. But it's true. We live in such a vacuum of playing our own thing. Just things to the meta is hunting for structural. That is true. I just finished editing this episode, and if you guys haven't, we released a anniversary episode, and it was just kind of a fun episode for Ken and I to think back across the history of Iron Radio, because we've now been on the air for 3 years, which is mind-boggling. How long that is. We never thought that we would be where we are today, or that what the channel would be in 3 years. That's kind of crazy. You should go watch that. But Ken has a supercut of himself drawing structurals, which is super funny, and then me drawing projectors. And I was just editing a video, and I drawed a projector misaligned, and it's always terrible. It's just never a good time to draw a projection misaligned. I hate that card so much. Are there 12 structurals per deck, 1.5 damage deck? I think there's 6 or 8. I know Ken always tells me how many there is, and I just laugh because I'm like, they're all on the table on your side, man. Let's see. I have a rule question. Ramadi red dice is always given or only when obstructed? Ramadi gains a dice when his attack is obstructed by a ship or an obstacle. So, what that means is he can't be obstructed by ships or obstacles. That's the first clause of it, which is really good, because usually you would be losing a dice there. Then the second part of it is, if he's obstructed, you gain a red dice. So the way that would work is, let's say I declare an attack with a Arc 10. That's easy because it's 3 red dice. Through a ship into your other ship. And then normally I would go from 3 dice obstructed down to 2 dice. But Ramadi says I get to keep all 3 dice. I roll in that initial dice pool of 3. And then because Ramadi is an add effect that takes place after I've rolled my initial pool in, and he says if the attack is obstructed, you don't lose dice, and then you get to add a red dice. And at that point, then you can add in an additional red dice. So hopefully that answers your question on how he works. But things that cause obstruction, he doesn't work against squadrons, but EWS, if the only obstruction is being caused by EWS, then it's still considered obstructed. Ken does a shuffle, and then he burns cards. And then there are 8 structurals in a deck. That seems like a lot. But then again, that's why Ken draws them like every single time. So why you buy so many ships, I understand. Ken, no. Yeah, Ken draws structurals in real life, online, anywhere we go, he draws structurals. He always refers to it whenever he goes to the local game store that, I say local, it's like 2 hours away now for me. But it's one of the best stores around for that. But whenever he goes there and he plays, and I ask him like, how did it go? He's like, I gave them the Ion the Ion radio experience, which refers to at least one of his ships blew up by a structural damage, and it always makes me laugh every single time. So, well, specifically to kill a ship. Usually it's his MC-30. It's like take a structural to kill at the end. The same kind of question for Akbar dice. Always given or only if the ship has already attack dice. Ah, that's what you mean. So to be able to add dice, you need to be able to get to the modified dice section. Akbar is an add effect, so he falls under the modified dice section. So you have to have a dice pool to get there. So things like a transport that have 0 dice, you cannot gather dice, and if you cannot gather dice, then you cannot roll dice, which means then you cannot modify those dice. So something like an Akbar CR90, if the attack is obstructed, like if you're attacking at long range and it's obstructed, you have 1 dice that goes out, it's obstructed. That means your dice pool starts off at 0. You cannot roll dice in, then you cannot add Akbar because he falls into the modified dice. It's really important to follow the steps of the attack order. And then like both of those questions you would be able to understand better because everything happens at a specific point by the way it's phrased and it flows. I think one of my first Backseat Admirals that I did, for sure in the first 4, I go over in depth into the attack sequence, which might help you if you want to go back and watch that one. Because you can't add dice. So I like seeing it as a difference in phrasing. So if you see something that says increase the listed dice, a lot of times that takes place before the dice are gathered. So like expanded hangers increases the front arc by 2 black dice, meaning you take whatever your dice are from your front arc, you add in 2 black dice, and then you roll them. Compared that to something like external racks, which is add 2 black dice in by discarding this card. So you gather your initial dice pool, you roll it. At that point, you're now in the modified dice step. You can discard external racks to add in 2 black dice. So you just got to know the wording, and hopefully that helps you. Let's see where we're at. Yes, need 2 damage. 1 crit, structural always. Yeah. Then again, John rolls a red crit. It becomes a double anyways. Yeah. John enjoys his red dice so much, his Christmas stocking will be filled with red dice. Yeah. That are you saying that I was a bad kid? That's kind of like my Cole. I get red dice. Also, you don't get your ship out blog has a great article on that. Yeah, they do. Thanks, because it's not clear in the rule book. Yeah, you have to. The problem with the rule book as it is the initial play rule book isn't really the rule book. It's kind of like here's something to learn how to play, and then you need to get the rules reference, and then you need to read the entire rules reference in its entirety to understand how the rules actually interact to each other. And then it's just a little bit confusing. But once you get it down, each of the wording and phrasing allows you to more easily navigate that. I've been playing this game since the beginning, and sometimes things are still confusing. So hopefully that helps you out. On that note, I think I'm going to end it here. I've had a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've been able to do a Backseat live, like a month, maybe month and a half. So I'm glad to be back with you guys. I'm hoping to be able to do this again soon to cover the rest of Season 5. So stay tuned to more stuff coming out from Ion Radio this week. Maybe a summer event. For sure, episode 8 of our Season 5. And until next time, on behalf of Ken in the chat, thank you very much for watching. I'm John. This has been the Backseat Admiral, and you've been watching Ion Radio.